So you might be asking, what does this so-called manipulation actually look like in the real world? Well, Nadia lays out 8 specific tactics. Let's go through them one by one. Okay, first up on his list is something he calls excessive compliments. The idea here isn't that compliments are bad, but that sometimes they're not genuine. He's saying they can be a tool, a way to make you feel all warm and fuzzy, right before they ask for a favor. And he gives a really specific example here. So imagine hearing this. You know, John, nobody does the stats reports better than you. I've seen nothing like it. See, according to Ngatia, that's not just a nice thing to say. It's the setup. It's a strategic move designed to get John to do the report, maybe even take on more work. All right, tactic number 2 is one Nardia calls a classic, basically using your feelings against you. This is where your love or affection isn't just a feeling anymore. It actually becomes leverage, a tool to get you to do something. And check out this example he uses. Dennis, if you really loved me, you would get me that lovely Liverpool jersey. Oof, you see how that works? That little phrase, if you really loved me, just turned a simple request for a jersey into this high-stakes test of your entire relationship. Suddenly, there's a big emotional condition attached. Next up, tactic number 3 is, you guessed it, guilt tripping. Now, Ngatia's definition is pretty specific. He says it's about intentionally making you feel guilty, not because they're genuinely hurt, but as a strategy to get you to comply. And he argues this isn't just about making you feel kind of bad. No, it's a very specific technique. It's about weaponizing your shared history, maybe bringing up a mistake you made ages ago or reminding you of all the favors they've done for you. The goal is to create this sense of debt that you feel pressure to repay right now. Number 4 is a big one, passive-aggressive behavior. According to the article, what makes this so powerful and so frustrating is that it's all indirect. It's a way for someone to show they're angry or that they're resisting something, but without actually starting a direct fight. And that makes it almost impossible to call out, right? And Ngaya lists some of the classics here. You've got sulking, those sneaky backhanded compliments, and of course the infamous, I'm fine when you ask what's wrong. He even throws procrastination in there, framing it not just as being lazy, but as a really subtle way of resisting something without ever having to say no. Okay, now we're getting to what is probably the author's most controversial point. Tactic number 5, crying. He argues that sometimes, and he's very specific about this, tears aren't a genuine emotion, but a strategic tool. He calls it an insanely convenient outburst of emotion that gets used when someone feels like they're losing an argument. He actually calls this tactic the ace in the hole, or even the nuclear option. Why? Because in his view, a lot of men are just conditioned to be so uncomfortable with seeing a woman cry that they'll do pretty much anything to make it stop. And what does that do? Well, he argues, it effectively ends the argument, making a super powerful tool. All right, tactic number 6 is one I think we can all recognize, the silent treatment. The author defines it as intentionally ignoring you with a specific goal of creating discomfort. The silence itself becomes the weapon, right? It just applies this constant, quiet pressure until you finally give in. And he gives a super relatable example. Think about that long, heavy silence you might get after choosing to watch the World Cup game instead of, say, the Twilight Saga eclipse with your partner. Nadia's point is that this silence isn't just about disappointment. He frames it as a subtle punishment, designed to make you think twice the next time you have to choose. With tactic number 7, we're kind of moving from the subtle stuff to something way more direct, giving ultimatums. The author describes this as basically forcing someone into a corner, putting them in a position where they have very little choice but to give in to a demand. And to illustrate this, the article uses a really extreme, high-stakes example. Ngatia even goes so far as to compare it to a terrorist's demands, where the emotional cost of saying no is made to feel just impossibly high. And that brings us to the final tactic Ngatia lays out, number 8, using sex. He claims this is an incredibly common form of manipulation and that it works like a two-sided coin. It can be used as both a punishment and a reward. So here's how he breaks that down. On one side, you have withholding sex, what he calls the dry spell, which is used as a punishment until a task is done. And on the other side, you have promising sex as a reward, maybe using subtle cues or even how they're dressed to hint at what's to come once you've done what they want. Okay, so after listing all of these pretty negative tactics, Ngadia doesn't just leave you hanging. The second part of his article is all about solutions. He offers a kind of toolkit for how to respond if you find yourself dealing with this stuff. His advice really boils down to 4 key steps. Number 1, set clear boundaries and make sure there are consequences if they're crossed. Number 2, don't let yourself be pressured into a quick decision. Give yourself time to think. 3, get comfortable with saying no and meaning it. And finally, if nothing else works, his advice is to maintain your distance. But as you can probably imagine, not everyone agreed with the article's laser focus on female manipulation. The comments section absolutely blew up with debate. And a really common counter-argument came from a commenter named Elisa Mourinho, who basically said, hey, these tactics are unisex. Her point is, this isn't about gender, it's just about people. Some people manipulate and others don't. Then another commenter, Daya B, came in and reframed the entire conversation. She argued that these behaviors aren't something inherent to women, but are actually a product of historical power imbalances. From her perspective, manipulation is a tool that the less powerful have had to use to get what they need. And as women become more equal, especially financially independent, these behaviors will likely just disappear. And then there's this final, really powerful comment from Felicity Neal that kind of turns the whole thing on its head. She suggests that instead of just analyzing the other person's behavior, it might be worth asking yourself why you keep attracting the same type of person over and over. Her point is a tough one to swallow, but it's crucial. The one common denominator in all of your relationships is you. So when you take all of this, the article, the strong reactions, the intense debate in the comments, it really all boils down to one big fundamental question, doesn't it? In any relationship, where do we draw the line between healthy influence and harmful manipulation? Is it about the specific tactics people use? Is it about bigger social power dynamics? Or is it maybe about looking inward at our own patterns? That's really the question at the heart of this whole debate.